What's going on, everybody? We are back, episode number 23 of the Club and Sub podcast. Today we're going to be going over Moraes versus Sandhagen. Should be a fun card. Hopefully it'll go a little bit better than last week. No hope. Anyway, as usual, I'm your host, John Sandhagen, MMA. You can find me on Twitter at MMAFox. Luke at SWR_betting, C at CHanson10, and joining us tonight, we got special guest, Gugabe. You can find him at Twitter at Gugabe. So yeah, should be a fun card. Excited to get into it. 13 fights, so hopefully it sticks together. First fight of the night, we got Tagir Ulanbekov against Bruno Silva. I don't really have much of a lean here. I think Tagir's going to probably win it pretty easily, but unproven prospect. He lost his assets at minus 300 is, I don't know, just seems like wide to me, and it seems like it's going up. So yeah, I mean, but I think there might be value on this. Luke, how about you?
So I actually do have a play here. Definitely not a bet I was originally looking to target. I figured Tagir was going to be pretty chalked up, but I did find kind of a sneaky play here. So I actually played him for 2.5 units at the minus 3.5 point handicap at minus 170. Bruno Silva essentially just really isn't an overt minute winner to me. So I feel like his really only win condition here is, jumping on a guillotine from a Tagir shot or, a big Hail Mary punch, essentially. I think Tagir is pretty well-rounded. He's got solid stand-up. He's a guy who's going to walk guys down, keep volume in your face, obviously has that Dagestani wrestling, has obviously a submission game as well. And honestly, I'm not overtly impressed with Bruno Silva, but he is he's one of those tough guys, which is kind of why I didn't want to just sit there and play any sort of prop towards Tagir maybe and taking that sub or even by decision necessarily. I thought I'd give myself a few more outs and take this points handicap because essentially he has to win on two judges scorecards, 29-28, 130-27, if not finish or if not better. So I think minus 170 was a great number for that.
Gugabe, what are your thoughts here?
Not particularly interested. Silva's lost to what's his name? Dvorak looks better in hindsight now. Dvorak looked fucking good against Espinoza. But yeah, price is about right. I just don't really care for it.
Yeah, I hear that. Steve, how about you?
Yeah, I think Tagir is fine. I just don't really have any interest laying any chalk there.
Quinn?
Yeah, no, I like Tagir here, but I agree with Steve said. I don't have any interest in him at the current money line, and I haven't looked into it enough to actually have an opinion on Silva here. So it's been a pass for me so far.
All right. So we move to our next fight of the night. We got Tracy Cortez, Stephanie Egger. Luke, what do you got?
So personal play for me here, not a tip, not going to be a track play, but I think they really messed up the relative open here. I put a unit on Egger at plus 250. And my biggest thing here is I just don't think, Tracy Cortez, a girl who's coming from a wrestling background who's, largely implementing that game plan. I just don't think she's going to be able to toss around a girl like Stephanie Egger and a girl, who won the Euro trials in terms of BJJ, went to the Worlds and drew Gabby Garcia in the first round, went the full distance with her, didn't get submitted as well. So, there's always a chance that I think that maybe Cortez just kind of grinds her out and wins a decision there. But at least in terms of on the feet, I think it's just going to be kind of a sloppy back and forth fight that I might give the edge to Cortez. I think her straight punches are a little bit crisper, but even in that, I don't think that Cortez is necessarily going to pose some massive submission threat here, and I think Egger, can make this competitive fight. If even if not finish Cortez, she's finished 4 of 5 wins. Granted, Tracy's probably the toughest girl she's fought so far, but I think that opening line, or relative opening line, was pretty off, and we've kind of seen that money slowly trickle in now. I think Egger's about plus 170, so it's kind of one of those bets I'm willing to lose to kind of get questions answered, but I think it's definitely a very different and difficult stylistic matchup for Tracy Cortez.
You got it?
I can see why people are playing Egger off the size difference, but Egger just doesn't really seem to have much striking defense. I don't really play chalk, but go over distance honestly couldn't be too bad at minus 200-ish. my view is neither should really get tapped here. KO's pretty minimal. But yeah, minus 200 on the JTD. Something will catch a toe in the eye. Yeah, I'm just kind of I'm not particularly compelled by this. Like, Egger's got upside in the size and the grappling, I guess, but how's her MMA game going? And very short notice, and I think she's got a fairly stiff cut. So how's she gonna make it on the week's notice while moving internationally?
Yeah, that's fair. See, how about you?
Yeah, I played Egger at plus 230 when it opened, just for a unit. Mostly, I think she does have a pretty significant size advantage, and the striking, what she does on the feet, I guess, is really kind of the biggest question mark. If her game's leveled up at all. She has looked bad, striking, but at the same time, I think Cortez is more technical on the feet, but I don't think she's anything, special, and I don't really think she reacts well to impact. And I think Cortez might be getting a little overvalued as a grappler, especially here. I mean, she's got a decent size disadvantage, and I think her first two between the Contender Series and the last fight versus Melo, in hindsight, I don't really think those are very compelling in terms of how good of a grappler she is. I kind of just think she's a little bit overrated in terms of her wrestling ability, especially in this spot. I seen her. She was in a pretty deep armbar, I believe. I forget who it was, where she was stuck for a little bit. More of just a Egger comes out here and is fucking huge type deal. So I'm willing to put a unit on it. I think Egger is gonna find time on top for sure. How much time, I don't really know, but yeah, I'm willing to throw a unit out there and kind of see what happens.
Quinn?
Yeah, no play for me here. I just felt like there was such limited tape on Eager. I wasn't really able to watch any of her ADCC fights. I was only able to really watch clips of her Ryzen fight. But she's definitely has a size advantage here. Definitely looks like she knows what she's doing on the ground. And from watching some of her clips from her off her back, it seems like she just she knows what she's doing in the grappling here. I don't know exactly what I think she won. Was it blue belts in the ADCC Europe trials?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe she wanted it. Yeah, and that's what I saw from her on her Instagram, was that she was still a blue belt. I definitely think that she's obviously going to have that size advantage. I just don't really like how Tracy looked against Melo. She really seemed like she struggled to take her down and actually control her on the mat. I didn't really like her entries there at all. And with Eager being the bigger girl, and it seems like she mainly trains grappling, I just feel like Cortez could have a hard time taking her down here, and there's just not enough footage for me on Eager's stand-up to actually warrant really a play on her. She's down to plus 165-ish now. So it's a pass for me, but from a betting perspective, I definitely believe it's a dogger pass. I wouldn't be putting Cortez in any parlays or playing her straight, no matter how much I love her.
Yeah. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse with the size thing. Yeah, Egger's bigger. I also played her for a unit plus 225. Pretty much the one other time we've seen Cortez in a heavy with a decent grappler was Erin Blanchfield, and the one time she got put down, Blanchfield was a lot smaller. She kind of looked like a white belt on her back. She got mounted pretty much right away and held down. So, I'm not going to go too much into everything else. We talked about it, but Egger's got a good judo game and she's got a size advantage. And if she puts her down, it wouldn't be shocking to see her do work on top. And so, that's pretty much enough justification for Cortez to not have opened minus 275 or wherever she was. So yeah, I put a unit Egger plus 225. I don't know if she wins or not. If she gets stuck at range, she's probably going to lose. But even there, Cortez was getting hit pretty hard by Melo, and her win versus Agapova has not aged very well after Dobson took her down twice in the first round. So yeah, I'm on Egger for a unit. Not super confident or anything, but I do think the line's wide there. We move on. We've got Giga Chikads taking on Omar Moraes. Gagabi, any thoughts here?
Morales should be a little bit busier. I kind of conceptually fade Chikadze, but yeah, I'm not playing striking match at minus 145, wherever it's at. Yeah, I'm pretty low on Chet Giga. Like, you can argue he's essentially lost all his UFC fights so far, and they've been tiny margins. But I don't know. Apart from what's his name at Rivera in the last fight, which is a layup. But like, I'm just not high on Chikadze. He doesn't do enough, and his cardio is shit, and he's a pure striker. But yeah, price is about right. And also Morales is fucking gigantic, and he could just die in 5 minutes because he's cutting too much weight. No strong conviction.
Yeah, fair point. See, how about you?
Yeah, I don't really have a super strong opinion on this. Yeah, I guess I kind of lean the way of it being a 15-minute kickboxing match where Omar definitely has the round 3 advantage and probably the power advantage, but I don't know if he's just going to sit at kicking range with Giga. It could just be a close decision. Yeah, I'm kind of just passing.
Quinn?
Yeah, no, I like Omar here. I played him at minus 145. The for 2 units, the weight cut definitely is a concern for me. Him cutting down to 145, especially at his age. But I like his game a lot more than Giga's. Like I've pretty much faded Giga his entire career. I don't really think that his game is translated over to MMA very well, and like at his age, really, how much more, especially in the grappling department, is he really gonna learn? And he's really struggled there. And Omar Morales, I know the striking is definitely gonna be close, but I do think he's gonna have the edge in power here. And he is a little bit busier on the feet than Giga, and he does have good fight IQ. I mean, he took down Ma in the first round. And it seems like he has pretty good wrestling, really good size advantage. And, like Miller had posted earlier, he gets I don't know if it's just smoke and mirrors, but he gets talking about testing Omar's grappling, which I don't think is a good idea for him at all. So, yeah, I think Omar definitely has the higher ceiling in MMA. I think that he is just the better fighter overall, and I liked him minus 145 for sure. So I 2 units on him at minus 145.
Yeah, I put Morales as well. 2 units minus 160. Pretty much thinking is like Giga might be a better technical kickboxer than him. His offense is certainly more technical, but Giga's pretty hittable. And like kind of what C said, we know there's going to be a pretty significant round 3 advantage. I don't really buy that his cardio is going to be better because there won't be as many takedown attempts. Like it wasn't like Emmers really grinded him out the way Davis did. So I don't really buy that. And so my thinking is like it's probably going to be 50-50-ish for a round or two with probably like 80-20 round 3 for Morales. And if that's the case, like you got to think he's like 70% in this spot near there. So yeah, like I think Giga is going to have offense here, but I kind of expect Morales to probably match him on pace. He probably hits a bit harder. And while I don't really think the wrestling is something like that's a reliable path, we just haven't seen it enough. The upside is there. Like he caught a kick against Ma, and Giga throws a lot of kicks. Like he wouldn't be shocking if he get a kick and put him down here. So like I think there's decent value on Morales right now. So yeah, I played him as well. Luke, how about you?
So first fight in my 3 not for me over at MMA Oddsbreaker. Cheap plug, check it out. Yeah, this is a fight I really don't want to be invested in personally. I think it's kind of just going to be one of those close split decision kind of fights, maybe either one way, Morales, one way Chikadze. I guess my big thing is that I think Chikadze probably plays the range game a little bit better, where I think, Morales is going to be a little bit more aggressive here. But so I guess we'll slightly disagree in the sense of the takedowns, John, and that potentially taxing Giga's cardio, because I actually personally think that's part of the reason why his cardio has dumped a little bit. I could be wrong, just an assumption from watching tape, but ultimately I just think it's going to be a really close fight that kind of has that greasy split written all over it, where maybe one guy, obviously both guys have power, so maybe there's something that's thrown in the fight that could significantly change the path of it, and one side looks great, but ultimately I see it being kind of just that 15-minute kickboxing type match where I don't really see value on either guy at current price, so I'm staying away.
All right, we move on. We got Tony Kelly making his second fight in about a month here, taking on Ali Al-Casey. What do you got here, Steve?
I played a little bit of Kelly inside the distance. Yeah, I mean, I just think Kelly has advantages pretty much everywhere. Al-Casey, I guess, could land some takedowns and make it grindy, but I think Tony's got some good get-ups. I think he's a little bit better grappler. I don't know. I don't think much of Al-Casey. I don't really think he's good. Yeah, I mean, I played Tony inside the distance, and I played a little bit of sub on Tony. So yeah, I mean, I'm not running to bet him minus 250 or whatever the hell he is now, but I think there's some decent props.
Quinn?
Yeah, no, I like Tony Kelly here a lot. I think he is the much better fighter than Al-Casey here. Kelly, he's a 10th planet purple belt. I think I agree with C. I think he's the better grappler here. Kai Kamaka, he's a much better wrestler than Al-Casey, like especially with takedown wise and positionally, definitely. And he wasn't really able to hold Kelly on the mat like until the third round. And even so, Kelly was still able to get back up. I like Kelly's get-ups. He doesn't really let his shoulders touch the back of the mat. And when he does, he's constantly hunting for subs, shrimping out to get up. And on the feet, it's really not even close. I mean, Kelly is just such a better striker than Al-Casey. I love his leg kicks, his work at range, his knees and elbows in the clinch. Like him and Kamaka, like that was a fantastic fight, and they were putting on a pace for sure. And it seemed like Kelly kind of slowed down towards the end of the rounds, but in the third round, it definitely looked like he was the fresher fighter there against Kamaka. I just don't really think Al-Casey is UFC level. He kind of struggled against barely pulling out a split versus Rivera, and I just don't really, his path to victory here, is definitely grappling. I just don't really think that he's going to have that much success doing it. I don't have a play here just because I don't really want to play the ML, but I've been looking at a couple of props. I've just been trying to decide what I want to do with the fight. But I do like Tony Kelly here for the win for sure.
Yeah, so bit of a contrarian take for me. Like I don't want to say I like Al-Casey here, but I don't know. I feel like Kelly might be getting a little too hyped up off the Kamaka performance. Like he went into that fight as a big dog for a reason, where he got held on the ground, no problem. What's going on, AJ? He got up against Kamaka, but he also gave his back to get up against Kamaka pretty much every time. And so, I did some tape on Al-Casey, and, I also don't think he's very good. But I couldn't really find much data as to whether or not he'll put hooks or a body triangle in if he gets the back. And so, I kind of feel like if Kelly can just give his back and stand up, he's probably going to look -3, -400 and light him up. But on the other hand, if he can't, if Al-Casey does control his back or get a body triangle in or a back mount, he's going to look like a -200 favorite here. So I personally think it's a bit of a mess. I don't really want any part of it. I get Kelly look good, but it seems like his stock's probably a little too high and Al-Casey's probably a little too low, given how much he will attempt takedowns. So yeah, that's my take. Stay away from me. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, this is one I didn't really look too heavily into just because I couldn't find any of Al-Casey's Brave CF fights, which I think are 3 of his last 4 fights. Yeah. For a guy who I'm largely unfamiliar with, I'd like to have at least a majority of those recent fights available. But I did bet Kai Kamaka over Kelly in his last fight out. Definitely, I don't think I gave necessarily enough credence to Tony Kelly in that fight. I thought that would be a lot easier fight for Kai Kamaka. But to your point, John, I don't necessarily know. Once again, haven't dove deep into tape on it, but I don't necessarily know if that justifies a -200 price here on Tony Kelly. But we'll see.
Gugabe, what are your thoughts?
Got a little bit of Kelly round 3, just cardio dynamic. Rivera took over pretty hard in round 3. Kaiser could hold him down a bit, but Kelly just seems to have output edge. But again, I'm not paying -250 for a guy like Kelly because grappling is a valid loss condition here. And yeah, Kaisi seems tough. I think there's some decent value on. I think I got plus 1400, but like I haven't really got props open where I can really hit them yet. So I'm just kind of picking up some stat lines and that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Makes sense. Makes sense. So we will we'll move on. We got a fun one here. The GOAT, Impa Kasanganay, taking on Joaquin Buckley. Quinn, what do you got here?
Yeah, no, I have a 1 unit on Buckley at plus 200. I just don't really understand the line. I mean, I don't think that Buckley should be 30% implied here. I kind of more capped Impa around 55, 57%. I just really think that Impa is, he's very green. He's only been fighting for professionally for like a couple of years, and he's really fought only cans. And the guys that he fought on the Contender Series, like I wasn't like at all impressed by. Like he lost the first round to Adams, and then Adams kind of just gassed. And then the other fighter he fought was just a complete trash can. And then he fought Maki Patolo, and you all know that I'm not a huge fan of like Patolo at all. Like I just don't really think he's a UFC level. And like Impa was really eager to get into some pretty heavy firefight exchanges, especially early with Patolo with his chin out, and like he likes to duck, and I'm not saying Buckley is some world beater here, but like he has a lot more experience. He fought in Bellator, he fought on LFA. He got the knockout loss to Kevin Holland in his last fight. Coming back so soon is definitely a concern. But he has good cardio. He throws leather. He walks you down. He has good boxing. I definitely think that if Impa is going to look to get into these firefight exchanges, I mean, like Buckley is 100% live for a knockout here, and and Buckley has good cardio, so it's going to be competitive over 3. And I just Impa hasn't shown to me how he should be that big of a favorite against someone like Buckley here. So yeah, it was a pretty easy play for me. I have 1 unit on Buckley at plus 200.
Similar thoughts. I put a couple units on Buckley plus 210. I pretty much I don't know, I do understand why people like Impa. Like he's got great cardio, he's got great output. But to me, and I think he's gonna be very, very good. But I look at his game right now, he's only been a pro for 2 years. To me, his game's like a C+ everywhere, and his cardio and athleticism are an A. And you look back, and he was having split decisions with a guy who was 0-0 and a guy who was 4-3 like a year ago. You look at his, like you said, his fight with Anthony Adams. He's getting lit up in round 1. Adams gas. Even the Patolo fight, Patolo's having some success on the feet early in that fight, and then he hurts him. But even round 2 was pretty close. And so it's he's not exactly going out there and just dumpstering the guys he's fighting here. He's having relatively close fights. And not that I expect Buckley to go out there and dominate him or anything like that. But in a fight that's going to be probably contested mostly at range, given how hittable Impa is, it's hard for me to understand how he's minus 250. I get that there's grappling upside. Yeah, Buckley's been grappled to death before, but Logan Thorley's a 4-time Division I All-American. That's not Impa Kasanganay. So, I favor Impa slightly, based on just kind of cardio and output. But the opportunities for him to get hit are there, and to your point, Quinn, Buckley's cardio is not bad. It just kind of feels like a fairly high variance fight to me. So I put Impa for 2 units. Luke, how about you? Not Impa, sorry, Buckley. Jesus.
So no play for me. I guess I'm a little bit on the other side though. I guess it's mainly the grappling component for me, I guess, is what concerns me for Buckley. And I'm not only talking about that Logan Storley fight, but in that De Jesus fight as well, a guy who's primarily a jiu-jitsu guy who is also able to get him down with relative ease. And he didn't have much of an answer there as well. So once again, that's also predicated on Impa actually shooting takedowns here, which he has shown obviously in the past, but he's not a guy who's going to be diving on legs. So I definitely understand the narrative for the Buckley bets. I definitely wouldn't recommend laying this price on Impa either, because I do think actually the stand-up exchanges are going to be relatively close. But I guess my big thing is what I noticed is that Impa just rolls with shots really well, even though he's getting cracked. Patolo hit him a shit ton of times, but he tucks his chin. He seems even a guy who's relatively young in his career, He just seems to be pretty composed in there, which is obviously something I just really like to see from a young guy. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a top 15 guy, not saying he's going to be a future world champion by any means. Definitely not jumping on the quote unquote IMPA bandwagon yet, but I think this is a good spot for him. Once again, a no bet for me, but I think if he mixes in his wrestling, once again, competitive in the stand up, I think he wins here, but no bet for me.
Kagabe?
I'm playing Buckley, but I'm also pretty high on Imper as a prospect. Like, my view is that Buckley showed against Holland the willingness to bite the mouthpiece. Plus 200, the guy's willing to bite the mouthpiece. That's pretty much enough for me to take a roll of the dice. Good chance you'll be able to pick up Imper at like evens after round 1. Like, even like Patolo fight was pretty much Patolo winning till Imper had him in like 4 minutes. So yeah, on top of that, it's kind of like just I've got a bunch of Buckley, KO, KO1, money line, those sorts of lines because I'm pretty confident Buckley will come out hard and throw hooks, and swinging and banging works. I also like Imper round 3 plus 100, Imper submission round 3, those sorts of props. I think there's a decent chance that if it keeps going on, that Imper will just kind of exhaust him. But I think there'll be plenty of opportunity to exit Buckley live at a good price. Like, I'm pretty much looking at the view of Buckley round 1, or Buckley winning round 1 is pretty live. So, like, just if he wins round 1, but he can exit, and problem solved.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, I am pretty high on Imper as an actual prospect. Like, watching TNC, and there's just pure cardio. Like, I think he's got like top 10 upside. It's just like he's still pretty rough, and it's hard to win rounds consistently against guys just going to go crazy at body hooks.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah. So we move on, and we have another kind of fun one. We have Rodrigo Nascimento, Chris Daukaus. I say fun; it's going to be sloppy as all hell. But yeah, I don't really have much interest in a play here from a gambling perspective. Nascimento's looked fine. He looked good at contenders. He looked pretty good against Mays. Daukaus looked. There's actually more tape on Daukaus than Nascimento, but he looked okay against Porter. But I don't know. My gut's Nascimento is probably just going to grapple him to death here. But at the same time, I saw somebody else point this out, but he struggled to kind of pass the guard of Mays. And Daukaus is allegedly a black belt. And if that's the case, it's possible Daukaus can kind of hold position, and we don't really know what Nascimento's cardio is like. So I don't know. It feels kind of tricky if you play him here and lay the juice, especially given, how little tape there is on him. So, he's my lean. Something I think could be interesting, and I haven't played it yet, but so it goes a distance is plus 260. I don't think Daukaus is a huge hitter per se. I mean, granted, it's heavyweight, but Nascimento is not just going to sit there and trade with him. And if it turns into a clinchy grappling mess, I think that's a pretty decent line. So, yeah, I might play that. No interest in a side, but I guess I'll pick Nascimento. Luke, how about you?
So definitely the other way here for me. I got a 2.5 units on the under 1.5 at minus 135. My biggest thing here is, at least in the I should say in the early part, if we do get these big exchanges, I do think Nascimento is a little bit more athletic. I think he moves better from the outside. He kind of has that darting in and out nature, where Daukaus is kind of one of these more prodding heavyweights, but even in Daukaus kind of struggling in those pocket exchanges in terms of his striking defense. I think that's also where Daukaus really thrives as well. And I don't think Nascimento's really been tested there overtly as well. So I think there's definitely a knockout live from both guys early. But if it does hit the mat, in terms of Daukaus actually just recently getting his BJJ black belt, I don't think necessarily Nascimento just runs through him. But at the same time, I did a pretty deep dive into Daukaus, and even going back into some of his fights, they were a little bit later, I think probably 2 or 3 years ago. But when he's on his back, he doesn't really look great in doing it. He can recover guard and whatnot, but he's not really working back to his feet. He's not really threatening a ton of stuff. And I think a guy like Nascimento, once again, the tape is relatively limited, but at least it looks like he's looking to pass. He's looking to be aggressive, at least in attacking those submissions. So it's one of those fights where I just see multiple defensive flaws from both guys on both the feet and on the ground. And I'd be somewhat shocked if this gets out of the first round, to be honest. So we'll see. Maybe both guys prove tough, and I'll eat my bet. But I think someone's getting finished here, and I think it's probably Dawkins.
What about you, Gabe?
I'd like to go distance a little bit. I'd rather have that than the over 1.5 because I think the question is going to be, can Dawkins survive on his back? If Dawkins can retain guard, he probably lasts for quite a while. If he can't, he gets up in 2 minutes. So it's like I can kind of split the under 1.5 and the GTD, which I think is usually a good technique at heavyweight. Yeah. Like after a round, they run out of karate in their bodies and they just sort of go to shit. And it's like, all right, so over 1.5 means you're taking most of the you're taking most of the finish risk in the first 5 minutes. So, like, if I can get a GTD, it usually just makes more mathematical sense to kind of once I pass that first 5 minutes, like my chance to drop, it just drops off quite significantly. I also kind of like taking a little bit of a stab at Nascimento KO. My view is just kind of like positional KO is pretty live. If Dawkins can just stuff submissions, it's a decent chance he just gets pounded out or something like that. Pick if it goes sloppy, like you can get like Nascimento KO free at like plus 5,000 kind of levels. So I'm like, if Nascimento's tempo just survives, decent chance you just bench get a ground and pound stoppage. Pickens, submissions fucking minus submissions like price at the favourite odds. And it's kind of like in high. So sub betting's always weird because like a lot of the time submissions will look like in hindsight they do hit like a minus 500 outcome. But it's also like if Dawkins can just be competent, it probably looks like a hindsight plus 1,000 outcome kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Picky since I'd rather take Nascimento sub 1 than anything else. I feel like it's one of these things where either he just instantly subs him or we just can't sub him.
Yeah.
That's usually how grappling ends up being.
That makes a lot of sense. That's great insight. See, what do you think here?
I played some Nascimento round 2 and round 3. I kind of get a Dawkins quitter type vibe. I guess I don't disagree. It's probably you'll probably know relatively quickly how this is going to play out. In the first 2 or 3 minutes, you'll probably know if it's going the distance or not. Honestly, but I just have I have a strong feeling that Dawkins is somewhat a quitter the later this thing goes. I'm not playing anything big, but I just played some Nascimento sub 2 and sub 3.
Quinn?
This is like one of the fights that I haven't really looked at, so I really have no opinion here.
All right. So we move on to another fun one. We got Tom Breeze. Will he or won't he make the walk? I don't know. We're going to find out. Taking on KB Bueller. And if he does make the walk, will he actually show up in the cage? I don't know. What do you got, Luke?
Yeah, so this is one of the fights I just didn't look into. Tom Breeze is just a guy who you just never know is going to show up. So from a handicap or show up, as you touched on in general, John, at all. So he's just one of those guys like I'm just not trying to invest a bunch of my time into, because if the best Tom Breeze shows up, he more than justifies his price and looks great. If the best or if the worst Tom Breeze shows up, you don't know. If you get a little bit of that mid-range Tom Breeze, you never know. The guy is just a complete wild card. So from a handicapping perspective, I want nowhere near this fight. I'm not going to invest a second of my time into it, because it's all based on which Tom Breeze shows up. How does he show up? Because that 100% affects the outcome of this fight, in my opinion. So I want no part of it, but I think Breeze should probably roll the guy, but we'll see.
Good guy,
About the same. Like, Breeze could just come out and shit the bed. Like, that Allen loss was disgraceful. Like, both in terms of his fight IQ and just in terms of, like, that should not have been stopped. Like, he just looked like he didn't want to be in there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, Bullar's game is a very low tempo. Like, I watched a bit of it. He looks like he's going to have athleticism issues and just kind of ability issues, and he doesn't really pressure much. So, hopefully, if this guy is just going to sit at sort of medium range, throwing 3 strikes a minute, Breeze won't collapse. Like, at least Allen makes angry faces and comes forward, which is, I imagine would play hard upon Breeze's mentality. But like, Bullar's not going to do that. So, Breeze probably not collapse. But again, like, Tom Breeze can collapse for any reason at any time. So just why bother?
That's the quote. That's the quote right there. Just why bother?
He's
Why
gonna
bother?
he's gonna get swept out of bounds and then get.
He could collapse at any time.
See, what do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing with Breeze is like he's either going to look like a mental midget or not. So, essentially, if he just comes out and he's not a mental midget, he could basically finish it any way he wants. I'm not really willing to lay chalk on him, obviously, but I kind of think if you get Tom Breeze, non-mental midget wise, round one finish is pretty likely any scenario he kind of chooses. I mean, he's got good boxing. He could grapple. He looks fucking huge. I don't know. I mean, I think, you can't go wrong round one. Like if he's going to look minus 700, minus 500, what people think, is his upside, he's probably getting a first round finish. So why would you not just take plus 600 and fucking not lay minus 300 here? So it's kind of just my thoughts. If you're going to play it, take some type of prop. I took round one and I took a bit of sub at plus 1200 or plus 1100. When it was there. So I don't have a problem playing that.
Quinn?
Yeah, I have no play here. I don't want my money anywhere near this fight. I definitely agree with C. If you're playing it, it's going to be Breeze early. I think we're going to find out early if if Breeze even shows up or not. It's just like you guys said, that Allen fight was just so bad. That was embarrassing. Breeze is so much better than that. I'm not high at all on Bueller. I think the UFC is just giving him kind of a gimme fight here. So hopefully Breeze shows up and he looks good. But I can't trust him with everything that has been going on with him at all. So I don't want my money anywhere near this fight.
Yeah, I mean, similar thoughts. I've always been a pretty big Breeze defender, and I played him against Allen, and I wanted to vomit when he tried to take Allen down after he stuffed his first takedown. But yeah, I mean, look, he's way better than Bueller is. I don't know. I don't think Bueller is like completely fucked technically, but I mean, he has no winning ability, and it's just really like kind of like what Steve said. If he comes out hot, he should put him away however he wants. But is what.
Yeah, Bueller's not bad. Like, I mean, he's just like he just lacks work rate and athleticism. Like, he's got like leg kick. He's got some decent aspects. I don't mind them.
Yeah, like it's like he's UFC level, like technically, but whether he can win fights at this level, but Breeze is like top 15 level technically. So it's like I don't know. I don't really trust him. Like I wouldn't play Breeze. Like if you want, I kind of agree with C. If you want to play him, like play him early or play some kind of finish prop for him. I don't know, man. Like I thought about doing it as well. Like I said, I was half joking, but you're going to see Breeze end up getting swept out of mount, and it's just going to turn into a mess with him covering up before he even eats a ground strike. So, anyway, we'll move on. Fuck Tom Breeze. Yusuf Salal, Ilya Tapuria. Gagabe, what do you got here?
Tapuria is an angry, wild grappling man who might Roshkopf himself if he doesn't finish him. Yeah, like that's my view. Like I had quite a bit of joy at plus like 5,000 or the fuck it was. So I'm kind of annoyed this got made. I'd rather have the Choi fight because I feel that was a better spot. Tapuria, sub props are fine, sub 1, round 1, 2, any sort of quick thing, but I feel like Zalal could pull up in cardio. I'd rather play Zalal live than actually pre-bet him, I feel like it's a good chart. Tapuria taking round 1's pretty reliable. Tapuria looks fine in terms of like aggro grappling. If he does win, it's probably a very quick sub and he looks hindsight dominant. But again, what's his cardio like? How deep is his game and all that sort of stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. See, what do you think?
Yeah, that Choi fight. Holy fuck. Can't believe that got canceled. Plus 420, I know. Yeah, I mean, I guess, Zalal, in my opinion, I think there was like some narratives going like Zalal's way that he's like a grappler, this and that. But, really when I watched him versus that kid in LFA, Jordan Griffin, the first round, I'd pay attention to the first round versus Jordan Griffin more so than anything. It looked like after the first round, Griffin was totally gassed. But, he managed to take Zalal's back, get him down, and Griffin doesn't really have good wrestling. Not to say Tapuria has good wrestling, but I think he's got better wrestling than Jordan Griffin. And the thing about Zalal is he moves straight backwards, so even in that Griffin fight in the first round, Griffin's just coming forward and made it a closer fight than, I kind of thought on memory. So I think if you kind of just pressure him and kind of move him back against the cage, he kind of, he's kind of fucked. Even versus Lingo, I guess Lingo was pressuring, but he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of fucking sat there. Tapuria's pretty aggressive grappler. He is submission over position, but I just think he's going to find Zalal's back at a pretty high clip. And obviously, there's some unknowns about his cardio, but my boy Magic's been fucking sending me updates every time Taperia hops on a fucking microphone because I don't speak Spanish, but my boy Magic's been keeping me in the loop. And Magic is saying Taperia is like a fucking cardio machine, talking about his cardio. And so I got faith in my boy Magic. He's not gonna let me down. Anything Taperia said in Spanish, I know. So yeah, I think Taperia was saying he was gonna go Plata fucking Justin Gaethje or something. So I trust Magic here. I trust his fucking information on what's going on in the Spanish world. So shout out to Magic.
Quinn, what do you got?
Yeah, so far I have one unit on Taperia at plus 160. I kind of wish I would have waited because the line, it's definitely going to get higher than that. I wasn't sure if it was going to. I have a little bit of Taperia inside the distance. I might put a little bit of Taperia sub. I like his game a lot. He's a BJJ black belt. He comes forward. He throws fucking bombs. I don't really think, like Steve said, I don't really think Zalal likes to be pressured. Decent takedowns. He's good on top. I love his subs, especially from the front choke position. And I've never really been high on Zalal at all. I haven't played him in any of his UFC fights, and I don't know. I don't think he gets the hype. I don't think that he deserves the hype that he gets at all here. Obviously there's, question marks on Tapira's cardio with his short notice, but I definitely think that he is a solid prospect. I think he's just an overall better fighter here. And if the line gets up to plus 200-ish, I have no problem adding more to the money line. So far, yeah, I do think he finishes Zalal in the first couple rounds probably by submission, but who knows? He throws fucking leather, he throws heat. So yeah, I like him inside the distance here, especially at a plus 225. So
yeah, I like Taperia as well. That's you guys kind of summed it up. I pretty much think. Look, he beat Peter Barrett. He beat Jordan Griffin, and he beat Austin Ringo. That's pretty much like 3 of the worst 8 fighters in the division. Hey, what is on in your TV? He beat 3 of the worst 8 fighters in the division. I don't think he's bad, but he doesn't have much finishing upside. To Steve's point, he doesn't have much grappling. Mariscal took him down and took his back something like 4 or 5 times in LFA. And we just saw Mariscal fight Steve Garcia last year, not to MMA math it, but Steve Garcia is not a good grappler, and Mariscal couldn't really do anything to him. I have the same questions Ugabe does. What's the cardio like? He went into round 2 once and he was 19, but he looked pretty tired in it, which is a concern for me. But I do think he's going to put Zalal in bad positions early in this fight. I'm pretty certain of it if Zalal doesn't just randomly meme him. But I'm going to play him. I have round 1. I have him round 1. I have round 1 sub and just ITD. And I'll probably play him on the money line if these weird favorite lines keep getting blown up the way they have. And I see a lot of love for Zalal on Twitter, bizarrely enough. But yeah, kind of like what C said, really weird. I had kind of said too, Zalal is a decent grappler. He should be able to avoid it. Just because when I taped the Choi fight, I wasn't really taping the grappling aspect of it. But yeah, there's this narrative that's taken off that he is a good grappler, and he's not at all. So yeah, I like Taperia. We'll see what happens. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so you guys pretty much hit everything that I wanted to touch on, but at least for me, I don't really want to back aside here, but I think a sneaky good play is the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 105. I played that for 1.5 units. As you guys kind of touched on, I think Tapir is going to kind of just throw the kitchen sink at him early, and I think he's very live early. In that, we also have cardio questions from him there, so I don't think necessarily that Zalal is this great grappler that a lot of people are saying is, but we really haven't seen a ton of Topuria in these latter rounds. So I also do think that if he does get tired and we get into this massive Tim Elliott, Brandon Royval scramble fest, I think Zalal is also live for a sub. Once again, not saying that he's this excellent grappler, but I think those cardio questions do need to be considered here. So instead of backing aside, I'd rather back violence here, and even on the feet too. Like this Topuria guy, he's got some heat on the feet. Like we haven't seen a ton of his striking. Largely, his fights are taking place on the ground, but what we have seen from him there, dude's throwing some heat. And the big problem I have with Zalal is he's one of these kind of confident guys who's I'm just going to play this outside. I'm going to sit on my bike, play this range game type thing with guys. But guys have came in hand tagged him. Like Jordan Griffin hit him a few times too. Like. I feel like Zalal's another guy, another one of these guys who's live to get knocked out relatively quick too. So I don't think a knockout from Topuria is out of the question either. So once again, it's another one to fight. I don't really want to back aside, but I think violence is the play. So it's 1.5 units on the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 105.
Yeah, don't hate it. So next up, we have the first of 3 straight shit shows. We got Tom Aspinall taking on Alan Badeau. Quinn, what are your thoughts here?
Oh, I have no play.
All right.
Complete pass.
Hey?
Yeah, Aspinall round 1 sub. It's pretty much a lock. I'm kind of joking, but I'm not completely joking because there's like a period before Darren Till got into fucking Aspinall's life where he was pretty much looking to wrestle and grapple. So yeah, I'm good with it, man. Honestly, the other dude fucking sucks off his back. So I don't have a problem with it. I think I got plus 2,400 on it or something. Yeah. So yeah, I think Aspinall subs him first round.
All right. I don't have a lot of opinions here. I think Badeau is pretty terrible, to be honest. It's kind of a bummer because I played Spivak for a decent size, and that got called off. Aspinall's still largely an unknown, but Badeau's really just a fat light heavyweight. So I don't know. I was looking for a reason to fade Aspinall here. I just don't see it. I think he's going to knock him out early. I don't hate the subplay C, but it's I haven't seen him attempt to takedown in 5 fights. So it's I think he's more likely to just come out and just swing bombs until he puts him out. So, yeah, Aspinall's the lean, but I have no real interest in the fight, to be honest. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so I got 2 units on the under 1.5 at minus 150. Yeah, it's another one of these fights I don't really see getting out of the first round, to be honest. Not necessarily that Aspinall is going to come out there and submit him. I'm kind of more on the side with you, John, that I think he just kind of comes out and sparks him. As Badeau has proven to be relatively wild, at least in terms of his striking. So obviously it's heavyweight. Anybody can catch anybody. So I think there's some credence to Badeau, at least in that sense. But, Aspinall's, his right hand's pretty strong. And with that kind of loose nature of Badeau's defense, I think Aspinall probably just drops him and puts him out. So if there's a sub, in my opinion, I don't think it's coming from Aspinall shooting takedowns. I think it's from him just dropping him and maybe jumping on his back or something and taking it. But ultimately, this is a fight I'd be pretty surprised if it gets out of the first round.
Good guy, Ray?
Yeah, about the same. I like the sub play just because Aspinall can go for them. If he drops him or whatever, it opens up. Dalcha versus Badeau is one of the funniest KOs I can think of. His reaction where he just flies into the air. It's great. Yeah, I find it crazy that Badeau and Spivak both opened at plus 250. I'm like, come on, Spivak's not that fucking bad.
I mean, Spivak's been evens.
Yeah, it might be. I had quite a bit of action on Spivak because my figuring was just Spivak's durable, cardio, grappling. And Baldo just is just not very good. Like, it is heavyweight, so I'm always hesitant to cross minus 600. Like, can Aspinall take a shot himself? It's always a question. But, yeah, Aspinall should kill him, but I think minus 600 money, like, don't put in the fucking parlay. You deserve all the bad karma that comes to you if you put a minus 600, 1-0 UFC heavyweight in your fucking parlay. I'm sorry. You deserve retribution.
I mean, do you have an opinion on like Aspinall's ceiling based on anything we've seen? Like, I don't even know what. Like, it's possible this should be like minus 200, and we have no idea.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Like, Aspinall could be good. Like, I'm not personally particularly sold. I was going to play Spivak on against him heavily just because it's heavyweight. Like, minus 600 is probably dumb. Like, if you get Baldo KO1 or whatever, it's like, what's Baldo KO1? Plus 1600? Like, come on. It is heavyweight.
Yeah.
But, like, yes, Aspinall should be better.
All right. So that's the first of three shit shows out of the way. The second one, it's going to be Marcus Perez, Dricus du Plessis. Who did I start with last time? Was it Luke I started with, or was it C?
Who fucking cares?
All right. Anyway, I don't have a strong opinion here. I kind of like Perez. I'd play him at plus 150 if the line got there. The issue with Perez is really it's just like he has no idea what he's going to do next. He just throws everything into everything. He seems to gas out a lot. But like I do think that he's pretty reliable to not get knocked out, and I don't think he's at like a significant grappling disadvantage. And like, I just think, I don't know, man. I watched some of Dricus's regional tape, and like, he's certainly the more technical fighter, but he's pretty low output. And like, if the BJJ route is like closed off, like I suspect it's going to be, I kind of think this is like worth 50-50 in my mind. So like no play, but I kind of like Perez. I saw goes a distance is like plus money right now, which I kind of don't hate either, to be honest. So like I'm looking at that. I'm going to look at some of the other props, like maybe Perez sub. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Luke, how about you?
So I'm actually going contrarian here. I got 2.5 units on Dricus at minus 136. I guess my biggest thing, at least to address the volume nature of it, at least in terms of, his opponent, it's, if you're looking at that Andrew Sanchez fight, like Andrew Sanchez isn't a guy who's like overtly high output. What's the guy? Who's the Brazilian guy he fought in his last fight? I'm blanking on it.
Wellington Turman or whatever.
Turman. Yeah, Turman. Turman's not a guy who's overtly high output either. So at least in terms of like a range kickboxing match, I think du Plessis wins there. The dude's been like kickboxing since he was 14. I think he's like 30-0 in terms of his pro kickboxing. And Perez, he's always one of these guys who's like a funky kind of guy to fight. So I definitely get that. Obviously has that like crafty BJJ nature. But that's honestly one of du Plessis' best games or best parts to his game too. Like, I'm not saying he should be shooting takedowns on Marcus Perez and trying to sub Marcus Perez. I don't necessarily think that's his best path here, but like, there's just nothing about Marcus Perez that I like in terms of his game. Like, he's not a guy who's out here sparking people. He's not a guy who's out here like obviously from chokes and whatnot, but even in some of his fights, even in those chokes, like the Anthony Hernandez fight, he clearly lost that first round and then, hurt Hernandez to that body kick and then subbed him. There's just nothing about his game that overtly stands out. He's not a minute winner. He's not a power guy. He's not a guy who's got great cardio. He's not a guy who dictates a high pace. There's just nothing about me that nothing to me that stands out about Marcus Perez. So I think it's a solid spot for the new guy to come in and get a W here. So maybe we'll see. And if he does some like new guy dumb shit and like shoots sloppy shots and Maluko grabs like a Darce, or he gets like way too over aggressive in terms of coming forward and Maluko catches him with some body kick or some spinning shit and knocks him out, then I eat my bet. But to me, there's just nothing about Perez like overt that he's a guy who I want my money anywhere near. And I think he's a guy who has a style where you have to give respect to is very, very beatable. And I think the skill set that du Plessis brings can get it done here. So I like my bet.
Yeah, I hear that. Good guy. What do you think?
I'm appreciating C's MTV Cribs episode. Yeah. I like the over here a lot just because Perez is fucking tough. Like, he has no coherent game of any sort, but he stays in there, and I don't think Plessis is going to knock him out a huge clip. So, like, yeah, the over I believe in. Plessis' decision's probably solid. Like, I think if Plessis just minds his fucking P's and Q's and comes out trying to win the fight as risk-free as possible, he could actually, Plessis' decision could be hindsight like minus 200 if Plessis actually goes for it. But I could also see Plessis decide to get into a cock measuring competition, at which point Perez just pulls him into the fucking Perez meme zone. And anything could happen from there. Like, the best outcome here from me and probably for Avery and Plessis will be like Plessis just throwing a leg kick every 2 minutes and just like kind of hanging out on the outside whilst Perez pirouettes gracefully across the octagon and throwing spinning kicks. But fuck, who knows? Like, Plessis could just go nuts and get drawn into the Perez stupidity, and like I think Perez and those scorecards probably solid too.
What's the
like
number?
Perez is bigger, plus 125.
That's
Like if it goes to the decision, like Perez will just do dumb shit. So why the fuck would you want? Like, and Perez has only ever been whooped once in the UFC. Like even against Turman, it was still a competitive fight. And like in Sanchez, split neck. So it's like, it's hard to just beat Perez.
Yeah, he's actually fought decent competition too for a guy who, I don't know. Just
like Sanchez is great when he isn't having a heart attack.
Yeah, we love Sanchez.
But like honestly, like if Sanchez could just stop having heart attacks in round 3, he'd be like an elite middleweight. But it's middleweight, so you just have that issue.
We don't disagree on this podcast. We're all Andrew Sanchez guys.
Yeah, we love Sanchez.
Like Andrews isn't horrible either. Like Andrews is
he's not.
He's just
He's not as bad as people think he is.
And what do you got?
I like Perez here. I don't have a play yet. I'm kind of looking at some Perez sub. Plazez, he just doesn't really impress me that much. Low volume, very hittable, doesn't like being pressured. I'm not a huge fan of his wrestling. I also had posted on Twitter, I'm not a huge fan of Perez either. Like he's pretty much been on my fade list this entire time. But he has made improvements to his game, specifically his striking. I do like that left body kick that he throws. I don't really think that Plazez likes. He didn't really react to the body too well when he was fighting what was that guy's name? Soldich. I wasn't a fan of how he reacted to the body kick of Soldich, and Perez does have a very strong body kick, and I just can't trust like Perez ML just because he's he's so unpredictable. Like you don't know what he's gonna do, and I don't like putting money on that, but I definitely think he has inside distance upside for sure. So I do like him to win the fight here. I just don't trust laying the money on Plazez. I'm just still trying to figure out like what I want to do with it. But the pick is Perez.
See?
Zero opinion.
All right. And we move on to the last shit show of the night. We got the King of Kenosha, Ben Rothwell, taking on Marcin Tybura. Luke, what do you got here?
Hashtag Wisconsin, represent Ben Rothwell. No, I think it's just kind of a tough matchup for Rothwell. Like I kind of understand the Tybura money coming in. Like Rothwell, like is just one of these guys that I'm definitely not trying to lay like a ton of chalk on just based on his style. Like he's kind of just this zombie prodding forward type guy. He's going to eat shots, obviously has a chin and a half, not a guy who's overtly high output, not a guy who's out here like knocking out guys like crazy. Does have a solid submission game though for the heavyweight division. But I guess my big thing, and at least why I think Rothwell is going to win, I don't have a bet here. This is my last fight. Or one of my last fights in my 3-not for me over at MMA Oddsbreaker. Cheap plug, check it out. I think it's when those naked kicks of Tybura come in that Rothwell is just going to be able to fire down the pipe and just kind of walk him down. And kind of the commonality theme that we've seen from Tybura, at least in terms of when he's been able to have that kind of success, has been when he's been able to have wrestling success. I don't see him having wrestling success against a guy like Ben Rothwell. And even if he does, I think he's also playing with fire on the ground against a guy like Ben Rothwell too. So I largely see this being a striking affair. at the same time, I don't necessarily think that Ben Rothwell's going to come out here and just like blow the doors off Tybura. Like he could knock him out because I do think Tybura definitely has defensive flaws, but it's one of those fights where I just don't see Tybura being able to have that success he has historically against a guy like Ben Rothwell. So I think it's a decent spot for Rothwell, but once again, not a guy I'm trying to lay this kind of chalk in. But a lot of money has came in on Tybura recently. Like Rothwell's sitting minus 150, plus 130. So, you know, if this line does get too much more crazy and you're going to give me like Ben Rothwell around like minus 122, might be a different conversation.
Good guy. What do you got?
I took some Tybura plus 175 just because it's heavyweight. Tybura probably has, it's a weird fight because like if Tybura can get him down, he probably looks like a hindsight favorite. If he can't, it kind of devolves into Tybura having the worst chin and the worst power at heavyweight. Like it's a simple division in that respect. Yeah, if like I got plus 175-ish, so like I'm just hoping to trade out. Like if we've got some solid minus 140, 50-ish on the screen. If it gets like evens, I'll just trade out and be happy with my money. But yeah, shit show. And you know, Tybura is always like, there's always a concern like that Shamil fight where he just looked drunk. It's like that's just like that one fight is always. It's like Tom Brace is like I'm just scared of Tybura looking like that again. Like every other loss is kind of excusable. That Shamil one, he just did not look healthy.
Yeah, no,
like I don't know. That was just he just looked like he shouldn't have been in that cage.
Well, real quick too. I think that's an interesting consideration about Tybura. Like his weight has fluctuated like roughly 20 to 25 pounds over the last couple of years. I'm done. That's all I had to say. Like he's weighed like 240. He's weighed like 255.
Yeah, again, it's a heavyweight, so it's like, I mean, I'm roughly the same size, those sorts of guys. I've competed with a few of the Australian heavyweights just in the gym and all that, and like 20 pounds just fluctuates on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but he in my opinion, he actually has looked better though when he's dropped those weights. When he's weighing in at like on like that 243 range or whatever, I think he's looked better. That's just my opinion though.
Yeah, some camps he does cardio, some he doesn't. It just is what it is.
Quinn, what do you got here?
Complete pass. No opinion.
See?
Boo.
No opinion.
I picked Tybura as well. I took the plus 175 also. I don't know. Like, I just can't shake. Like, Rothwell I bet Rothwell against St. Preux, and I bet him against Struve, and I thought he looked absolutely awful against, like, in both of those fights. You know, in Struve, he made Struve look like John Jones until he started just hitting nuts. And like Andrei Arlovsky looked like Israel Adesanya against him. He landed 152 significant strikes. Like we just haven't seen since Rothwell came back from steroid suspension. The only time he's looked good is against Ivanov, who he's got a massive size advantage next to. And even in that fight, you know, Ivanov was landing on him at will, and he outlanded him at range. It's just like I think Rothwell's pretty clearly fallen off a cliff, to be honest. Like, can he stuff Tybura's takedowns? Maybe, but it's not like, you know, this is a guy that was taken down twice by Mark Hunt. It's not like we're talking about a guy with like legendary takedown defense here. So like I don't think Tybura can likely clinch him for the entire fight, but like I do think he can get him down. And even if he can't, like yes, he's incredibly fragile and he probably has like one of the worst chins in the division. But if he doesn't get knocked out, like he can probably win minutes here. He's been traditionally a more efficient striker. And so it's like I'm basically willing to fade the Rothwell KO personally at 175, and because I kind of view this as evens, but just my opinion. So
yeah,
we move on. Yeah, sorry. We got good.
Rothwell's always had the asset of just durability and not going away, which heavyweight is a fucking superpower. It's sad, but it's kind of true. It's like, yeah, if this ends up in the feed, I expect Tybura to, like, my view is it's a moment that Tybura fails to get a takedown, I'm just going to exit that fucking market.
I think that's fair. Like, if you get a first round that's just like it's very clear, then I agree. Like, I'll probably live play Rothwell, but like you can't say like I've heard people say like, oh, you know, Tybura has no chance here, and it's like, well, no. I mean, I think he can win minutes on the feet. Like, it's not like Rothwell looked great.
Yeah, agreed. Like Tiberiu's got decent. He's not a terrible kick striker anyway. It's like he's got knockouts in the UFC, and like he's generally got knocked out by guys who are reasonable to be knocked out by.
Right, and that's the other thing. Where is Rothwell's power at in 2020? Like, I don't think OSP is particularly durable, and he was wearing the shots just fine. So,
yeah, and like I attended the greatest event in UFC history, Tiberiu versus Werdum. Also the longest event in UFC history. Like it was literally like 6 hours of fire cage time. Like it was all decisions. And yeah, but honestly, and even that one's like Tiberiu for a heavyweight still hung in there. Like he lost clearly, but he still hung in there as a heavyweight, throwing 300 odd strikes for 25 minutes.
Yeah,
like that's something.
40 significant strikes at heavyweight. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and I'm like, I think Rothwell's done just kind of skating by on Zombie walking forward through damage and throwing punches at this point. So, I mean, I don't mind the plus 175. I think it's kind of a stupid line, to be honest. But yeah, we move on. We got Barboza, Makwan, Amirkhani. Good. What do you got here?
Pass. Barboza should kick the shit out of him eventually, but like Amirkhani is fun for his round. And like I just generally like Amirkhani. Amirkhani is one of my boys. So pass.
Quinn?
Yeah, no, I like Barboza to win the fight. I do think Amirkhani is live to win round one or at least land takedowns. I don't like Barboza's takedown defense when he's getting body locked, and Amirkhani is definitely good at that. But I definitely don't really know like how Amirkhani is going to do after like 7 minutes like of the fight. And if he can't hold, if Barboza can defend the takedowns, and if Amirkhani can't consistently take him down or, sub him early, I really do think that Barboza's just going to absolutely light him up on the feet. I mean, Amirkhani got dropped like 3 times versus Knight, like Jason Knight, like that did not really ensue confidence, and it seemed like Barboza definitely cut the weight well in his last fight. I actually had him by decision versus Idge, and I'm still irritated about losing that bet, but yeah, I don't like Amirkhani on the feet at all. I don't like his cardio. I definitely don't like Barboza's cardio either, but I do think that if he can like stop the takedowns here, he's definitely live to just beat the shit out of Amirkhani on the feet. So I definitely like Barboza here. I've been kind of deciding on whether or not I want to play the under. I just haven't decided if I want to do that yet. I also don't really mind if fight doesn't go the distance. I think it's like minus 170. Maybe like use it for like a small parlay piece. I don't really see this fight going the distance at all. I just don't really trust. I don't fully trust Barboza's grappling, especially when his shoulders are pressed against the mat. And I don't trust Amirkhani's durability on the feet at all. So yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of deciding if I want to play the under or just play a couple props here. But I'd like Barboza to win.
See?
Yeah, I played the under 2.5, and I played Makwan round 1 sub. Yeah, I mean, I think I got plus 1,200, which I think most people would agree it's pretty strongly as win condition. I guess my thoughts on Barboza are more, I don't think he's going to provide the resistance that Burgos did. And I think Makwan had Burgos in deep shit. Burgos did cheat. He grabbed the fence. Fucking pussy. Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to, Barboza kicks very fucking hard, big body kicks. So if Makwan doesn't get it done, round 1, he probably gets finished relatively quickly after that. But I guess my thing is that I don't think Makwan doesn't have good cardio, but I don't really think Barboza has good cardio either. I guess I don't really know what would indicate someone to believe that Barboza has good cardio just in general, especially if round 1 is Makwan grapple fucking him. But yeah, I mean, I think Barboza also, who knows? They're in Dubai, could have a shitty weight cut. Looks to cut a lot of fucking weight. It's going to be different, being out there and, quarantined in the fucking hotel 5 days, whatever the fuck it is. So if you have a, big cut like Barboza does, it's possible he just comes in completely drained. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with the under, and Makwan getting him plus 1,200 for his strongly his win condition. Just seems like a good play. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a matchup of two quitters with bad gas tanks that are matching up here, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like I don't think it's going to go if this went the distance, they're both going to look like two heavyweights come the third round. I think it's kind of binary in a sense. Like, Barboza's got pretty good first level takedown defense, but pretty much anytime someone's chained something together on the fence, he goes down and pretty much has no way to get back up if you go past his full guard, it seems like. But that first level is pretty good. And so, I mean, I think it depends how aggressive Amir Khani wants to get. Like, if he's just taking single shots at range, he's going to get eaten alive, I think. But if he gets him down, I don't know, man. It's a tough fight for me to call because, like, Amir Khani's pretty submission over position, and I just have a feeling like rolling for guillotines against Barboza is probably not going to work and more likely to get him fucked up. So, like, I do think there's slight value on Amir Khani. Obviously, significant grappling upside. And kind of to your point, C, I think if Amir Khani's cardio starts to go, it's going to probably start going on Barboza too. And, like, Barboza does not strike me as the kind of guy who's tough. Like, he's not going to be the guy who's gassed out and still throwing. He'll probably be accepting takedowns. I mean, this is the same guy who wheel kicked Kevin Lee and then got taken down while Kevin Lee was on Dream Street. Like, that actually happened. But like, I don't have a play here. I don't. Maybe I'll play the under. Maybe I'll play Amir Khani sub 1 and like Barboza 2-3. But I don't know. I think there's probably value on Amir Khani, but I also think the fight's a bit of a mess. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so last fight of the night in my 3-0 for me that I do not want any part of currently. I do think the value is probably on Amir Khani, but as you guys touched on, in my opinion, the guy's got one round of gas. Like, if he comes out hot in the first round, obviously he went out there and took the first round off Shane Burgos. Something not easy to do, but the wheels just really fell off from there. And we've seen that as a kind of consistent theme over the course of his career. And, as a striker, he's not a guy who's overtly diverse. He's very hittable. He's a guy who's going to throw in single shots. So my thing is, even if he is able to have any sort of wrestling grappling success early, where's his gas tank at in those second and third rounds? Because even if I do consider him as kind of that effective gasser, as he's a guy who will go forward and shoot takedowns, but he is still, in my opinion, a walking liability on the feet, at least in this fight, especially against a guy like Edson Barboza. So the question is can he have that grinding, wrestling, grappling heavy game plan over the course of 15 minutes to nullify anything that's done in space? And I'm just not convinced. So like I said, I think the value is on Amir Khani. I don't think he subs Barboza. I think Barboza is defensively sound enough to defend any submissions, but it's more so on Amir Khani just grinding him out. But when that fight is at space in those second and third rounds, man, that's going to be dicey for Mr. Amir Khani, because I think this is easily the most divisive striker he's ever fought. So once again, I think the value is probably Amir Khani, but I'm not willing to take the plunge unless you give me like that plus 300 number. So it's a pass for me.
Yeah, I hear that. And so we move to the main event. Great fight. We got Corey Sandhagen taking on Magic Marlon Moraes. His greatest magic trick is making my money disappear. We'll start with you, Quinn. What do you got here?
Yeah, no, I have Corey for 2 units. I don't remember exactly what line I got him at. Oh yeah, like -1. I think I got him at -160. I played it pretty. I don't know. I didn't really judge the line movement very well. Yeah, I think Marlon. I don't really trust Marlon in a 5-round fight in general. I know he's going to be dangerous for the first round, and I definitely think he probably wins the first round at a high clip. But like after the first minute and a half, I just really feel like God, I'm sorry, I'm mind blanking. Sandhagen, yeah, wow. I just feel like Sandhagen's going to take over that fight. Sandhagen, he throws high volume. He pushes the pace. He has high pressure. I love how he with his boxing combinations, how he rips the body here. I definitely think that after Marlon Gassas, he's definitely going to be taking over the fight. I mean, that cardio done first Cejudo was just extremely strange. And also him slowing down versus Aldo late was definitely weird too. And Corey, he pushes a way higher pace. And I definitely think Corey's sound enough in the grappling department that I'm not really worried if Marlon decides to go the grappling route. And Corey, he was eating some bombs from Lineker. And I know Marlon is a very, very sharp striker, but I definitely trust Corey's chin, his durability, his heart here. To survive anything Marlon's going to throw at him. So I really didn't see any problem playing the money line on Corey here. I do think that there is a case to wait till after round one to playing Corey, but I personally wanted to track my bet. And obviously, I didn't judge that line movement right, but I like Corey here a lot. I really just think he's kind of a bad matchup for Marlon.
See, what do you got here?
Yeah, I played Corey. Honestly, I've kind of thrown units out the window on playing Corey. I've kind of just steadily just been adding to Corey. I don't really have like a unit, I guess, that I can say that I played. I don't know. I'll say 3.5, but I guess my opinion on this fight is more like, I know a lot of people are saying wait till after round one. You might get better odds on Corey, but like that would indicate that like Marlon is like pretty, heavily favored to win the first round, which I don't really think so. I mean, he's dangerous in the first round. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think this is like 75-25 Marlon wins the first round. And I guess like, even in the live odds, like if it's a 50-50 round, I doubt Corey's that much, better of a line on Corey. And just in general, I guess my thought process on Corey is that there's, I guess conceptions that he's not a good grappler. I guess my counterpoint to that is that Corey does one thing incorrectly, and he gives up his back a lot. Not that he's not a good grappler, he just gives up his back a lot. So like Aljo, obviously I played Aljo there, just knowing that Aljo backpacks. Marlon, one, I don't really think he's going to come out and grapple. If he does, I'd love to see Marlon after 3 minutes of grappling. But even on the feet, I guess, it's one of those things where like Marlon, his power, he's explosive for, 7.5 minutes ish. His career has probably been pretty front loaded. So, I think there's a chance that, his power is a little bit overvalued. Not saying he's not powerful or anything, but Cejudo, Aldo, right? They managed to survive. And Corey seems like a pretty tough dude. And I guess, on the feet, I guess I struggle to see like where Marlon's really going to have success. I mean, his volumes, Corey basically puts up double the volume and he pressures. And Marlon just hasn't reacted well to people who pressure. I guess on the flip side, if you're playing Marlon, you're really hoping Marlon comes out there and leg kicks. And then that's where you get into a situation like, 2-3 leg kicks. Yeah, they could change the dimensions of the fight. I don't know. I don't think it's like a super likely path. I just kind of see Corey swarming Marlon with pressure, volume. And I just don't think Marlon's really skilled enough to evade that from Corey. He doesn't even really throw a jab all that much. If he did, I'd be a little bit more inclined. I just kind of think Corey's going to pressure him and just swarm him with volume. Probably finds a fourth, I'm going to say fourth or fifth round finish. I played those props. I think Corey is like 75% here. And I think Marlon's really front loaded for that, first 7.5 minutes. I just don't see how Corey or how Marlon can even put up like a pace similar to what Lineker did. And even what Lineker did, I guess the one thing is people say Corey's, defensively irresponsible. But, Lineker's success was ripping the body, not headhunting. And Marlon doesn't rip the body. Lineker went body head, had success ripping the body, didn't really have much success to the head. I think he, landed like 32% or something. And I just can't see Marlon putting up that type of volume. So yeah, I just have a strong Corey lean here.
Yeah, not going to break track here. I like Sandhagen a lot. You and I talked about it today, actually, but like, this is going to sound like kind of hot take-ish, but like, how good is Marlon Moraes? Like, look, I'm not saying he's obviously very explosive and has very good finishing upside, but since he came to the UFC, he hasn't had a good 15-minute performance yet the entire time he's been there. Like, his first fight with a Sun Sao, basically even on volume. And like, a Sun Sao's good, don't get me wrong, but like, he's also old and extremely low volume. Dotson, another guy. Dotson's solid, he's fast, but Dotson very easy to out-volume by the volume strikers. Couldn't really get ahead of him on volume and got dropped by Dotson. Like, again, he looked fine, but he didn't look like this world beater. Even the Cejudo fight, like, I've seen, like, even Quinn just said it, that, he has a high probability to win round one, and I'm just not sure I buy that. Like, Cejudo basically stood at the edge of kicking range for the entirety of round one and just let Marlon kick him in the legs over and over and over again. And as soon as he started coming forward, Moraes started breaking down. Same deal with the Aldo fight, really. It started round two. Aldo started walking forward, and Moraes, the power fell off a cliff. He started backing up. And, like, I did think he won that fight. But, like, the idea he's just going to butcher Corey with kicks, like, Sandhagen will switch stances. And, like, let's be real, it's not as easy to get off on power kicks when you're backing up the entire time. I do think the Moraes KO is very live early. Like, I'd be an idiot not to think that. But I just kind of think he's kind of fucked if it goes, like, out of the early portion of this fight. And I even think early, until he finds that, he's going to be getting it put on him. Like, I think you just touched on the C, but, like, it's a pretty significant height and reach disadvantage. It's not easy to kick someone in the head who's 5 inches taller than you. I think people are paying just a bit too much attention to, what happened to Sandhagen last fight. And, like, look, grappling heavy is a path to victory for him, except if Moraes grapples heavy early and doesn't finish him, he's going to suffer cardiac arrest in the middle of round two. So, I don't know. Like, I played a little bit of Moraes KO1 plus 1,100, a little bit KO2 plus 1,700. And then I played 2.5 units on Sandhagen straight minus 140, and then 4-5 decision plus 185. Like, I really, really just think he's going to absolutely put it on him here. Like, if he gets finished early. It won't shock me. But you can't convince me even from minute one that Moraes is going to win minutes in this fight. I just think it's a pretty daunting task. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add. You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head for me. I got 3 units on Corey Sandhagen at minus 129. The big thing for me is, once again, how does Marlon win minutes over the course of a 25-minute fight? I just really don't see it. If Marlon comes out here and starches him in the first, 7.5 minutes, I eat my bet. And honestly, that's a bet that I'm fine with losing, because I knew going into it, that's his win condition. But at minus 129, near 55%, when that is the guy's win condition, I have no regrets, because what have we seen, as you guys have all touched on, when these fights have been extended and pressure has been applied, Marlon is folding. He's folding, and that's something that Corey's going to bring. So I think all this line movement towards Marlon straight just does not make any sense to me. So I guess we'll see, but I'm actually hoping it moves more towards like pick 'em or even dog Corey Sandhagen odds, because I'm willing to put some more units on this one. I think the number's crazy.
Good guy, man. You got a contrarian take for us?
Not really. I think Moraes wins the first 7 minutes or so before cardiac arrest. Yeah, Sandhagen live bet's probably the spot. Like, even if Sandhagen wins round one, at least it means that you've sidestepped the worst case scenario of Sandhagen just taking a foot to the face and dying. Yeah, it's pretty much Moraes cardio and tempo just can't really hang, in my opinion. Like, you never know if he's got some new PDs, and like the Cejudo fight was just kind of ridiculous when that happened, when just Cejudo got 10-8 and just like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care, I'm being leg kicked. Like, I was on Moraes against Cejudo, and I'm still like, what? How the what's it's 8 minutes where just Moraes was throwing. He wasn't throwing that much, and then just Cejudo just wins off pure self confidence.
That was insane.
I'm just annoyed because I remember people back in the day, everybody before that fight was like, Cejudo's going to win with his wrestling and all that. And I'm like, no. Then Cejudo just wins off pure self-confidence. And people were like, oh, I picked the wrestling part. I'm like, no, you fucking didn't. What did that have anything to do with your prediction? Like, when something random happens, our owners, like, you know, when fucking Masvidal need Askren, I wasn't like, oh, Masvidal put together a 10-minute clear takedown performance. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, sometimes weird shit just happens. And, yeah, even if you bet on it, you didn't fucking predict that.
It's so true. MMA is so fucked. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. It was a fun one. Gugabe, thanks for joining us. We'd like to have you back. I want to have you and Magic on here for a big card. The debates for all debates.
Can we get live subtitles? I don't think Magic speaks English. So.
He typed it well up. But yeah, guys, we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us. Really like to have you back soon. All right, have a good one, everybody.
Fuck.
Bye.